and welcome to another episode of Unfollowed. I'm Arynne, also known as Non-Lib Take. Emily, introduce yourself.
AKA Emily Saves America.
Emily Saves America.
I'm really tired today.
We're both very
really
tired.
tired today.
Yeah, it's a struggle session. Emily was so tired that she missed the Trump rally in Coachella over the weekend in LA.
Yeah.
That's where things are.
There was another assassination attempt.
No, I actually read, it seems very iffy. I think people were quick to jump on it, understandably. But it seems like it may have been actually a MAGA supporter who may have just had stuff in his car. It's not clear. But as of now, I've seen conflicting reports. Yeah. So
did you see that? What about all the cars getting broken into? I don't know if that's fake news or not either.
I didn't see anything about that.
Yeah, my girlfriend posted someone went back to, it said over 100 cars were vandalized and all the windows were shattered and everything. But I wasn't there, so I don't know. And I don't know if that's a reliable source, but I'm not going to lie. I do know that there was a couple people that were removed because they were protesting, heckling, whatever. So I wouldn't be shocked if something like that happened, but I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's still it might be a Trump rally, but it's still California. So who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
But today we are recording this on Monday, October 14th. It'll be posted on Tuesday the 15th. So we will belatedly wish you a very happy Indigenous Peoples Day. You know what I think is sad though about today, Emily, is that when they say Indigenous peoples, they're missing the BIPOC, LGBTQIA plus people as well, because we know that they are affected even more, right? So
yeah, they're somehow
I just want us to take a moment. We should take a moment to acknowledge the Indigenous trans midgets who are underrepresented in the well wishes of today.
So what is today? It's for American Indians? Is that the point?
Well, it's instead of Columbus Day. But when you're an influencer as we are, there are no days off. So we don't get, I actually posted this on Twitter and everyone hated it. And I didn't take it down because I hated it. I took it down because no one was retweeting it. But I did post, I'll call today whatever it takes to get the day off. So I was like, I'll call it whatever if I get a vacation day. Maybe people know that I left my job in tech to do this full time, that there's no such thing as a day off. But so that
even I think you're crazy for leaving your job in tech to do this.
I am crazy. You know what?
Wait, but did you see that one influencer on TikTok that got crazy shit because she was like, you guys couldn't last a day as an influencer. She's a makeup influencer, and she's like, it is 5 p.m. and I'm just finishing work, and she got so much hate.
Oh no, you're finishing work at 5 p.m. So
that's
sad.
the time everyone finishes. What do you mean?
That's so funny. There's so much to go through this week, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Before we do that, thank you for the people who keep reviewing us on Spotify. We realized that we're also we were supposed to be on Apple Pod, and something got messed up with the distribution software. And so I think it should be live once this episode is live. So you can find us on Spotify, Apple Pod, Rumble, YouTube, all the different channels. Now that is done, let's talk about Kamala and the fact that I feel like they're like the orchestra playing as the Titanic is sinking, where they're pretending everything is fine. But they know she's just doing so badly right now, because I saw just before we got on today that she agreed to do a Fox News interview. Yes.
How's that going to work?
How is that going to? I think it's with Brett Baier. So here's the thing. I actually feel very conflicted about this, because Fox News at this point is essentially CNN with a blue background. And I don't know if Brett Baier is actually going to ask her the tough questions. I hope he does, but I don't know that they're going to come out swinging the way they should. And by the way, not swinging, not to embarrass her. You should treat her with respect, the way that the left should be treating J.D. Vance with respect, and Trump. And obviously they don't, but they should treat her with respect, but they should ask her real tough questions. And I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know if they're going to challenge her on the discrepancies in what she says, on the fact that she's both lifted from Trump's campaign and also lifted from Karl Marx. Are they going to ask her these questions? So we will certainly find out. But if Kamala's doing that, when Tim Walz is holding, and we'll talk about that later, when Tim Walz is pretending he knows how to shoot a gun, that just tells you how desperate they are. I heard some people say, oh, maybe it's because they're trying to go after the right because they already have the base of the left. No, I think they're scrambling for every last vote that they could get.
It's one of those things where I don't think they're going to be tough on her and ask her questions, which is annoying because then what's the point? Because how it's like, look at the way the other side treats Trump in interviews where it's like straight up a like vicious interrogation. So I think if you're not going to go that hard at her, then like what the fuck's the point? Because then if she even can coherently make a sentence, she's going to shoot up in the polls because everyone's going to be like, oh my God, look at her. She went on Fox, like, and she did well, blah, blah. Even though somehow me and my boyfriend are like, okay, we need to get to the bottom of how anyone in the world could be retarded enough to vote for Kamala Harris. So we spent all night in bed watching her interviews. She is so fucking dumb. The only thing I can assume is she has sucked so much dick to get to this point and just like grifted on another level because she truly is one of the dumbest women I've ever heard speak in my life. And I'm like, so that's what you guys want for a first female president? If you really are a feminist, you wouldn't want her because after that, we'll never have a female president again because of how bad of representation she is. But I've never heard her say anything intelligent. And we know she can't speak without a teleprompter. And when it cuts out, she's just like, and you're like, well, this isn't good for anyone. So yeah, I don't know how it's going to go.
It's such a good point. Like, do you want the first female president to be someone who slept her way to the top? Is that the example of what we should tell young girls? You know?
Well, that's for liberals, terrible. Yeah.
Also, that's like, has she ever had, I've been trying to rack my brain to think of a single moment she's ever had besides obviously the line that they manufactured before she went into the debate with Pence 4 years ago. But besides the, excuse me, I'm speaking, has she ever had a single off the cuff moment that was just iconic or just like a good one liner? Because Trump has those every other day. Every other day.
Yeah. I was gonna say, he has them every time he speaks. And then also, did you see that she was doing an interview and the woman in the audience knew what she was going to say and they caught it on camera?
No. Can you describe that? I didn't see this.
Yeah. So she's doing some like dipshit show, you know, it's like The View or something like that. And they're filming the audience and she goes to answer a question and a black woman in the background is mouthing the exact sentences she's saying, which is fucking crazy. That means like not only the questions were already like said, the answers were already said, and they were already memorized, but they literally caught the woman on camera and she was like, and it was the exact words. And I'm like,
where was she?
And I'm like, what the fuck? It's like the fucking Truman Show.
It is the Truman Show. It's all fake. It's like Soviet Union when they would bring Western leaders in and be like, come, look at our supermarkets. How amazing are they? And they were like, fake supermarkets. That's what it feels like with all of her interviews. She had what was supposed to be like, you know, her gas station moment where also they were just like passing Doritos around and like Doug and Tim both were trying to pass over Doritos and it was like paid actors in the background. But where did they have her go over the weekend? And you could see a teleprompter for her where was that?
Yeah. So that's what I was talking about too. So she also was somewhere, she was asking questions and they were on the teleprompter. And then did you hear where she was like this? And she was like, okay, we're live, like feed me the questions or whatever.
Yeah.
Did
when
you see that as
like,
well?
We're actually live. You have to.
Nothing she's fucking saying is real. The questions are fake. The answers are fake. The studio audience somehow knows the answers to the fucking questions and those are fake. Like everything is fucking scripted. Like this is crazy. This is creepy. This is, you know what it is? It's the same. It's like Zelensky shit. Like a fucking actor is now the fucking like president. It's like, that's how it is with her now. This is scary.
Mm-hmm. No, but it's like, she's not even an actor. She's like, I actually think Zelensky is probably smart. And I think that he is like, you know, being he was very masterful for a long time around getting money from the US and funneling things the way he wanted. Kamala's too dumb. She just is being used by the Democratic machine that she's not in control at all. But talking about actors, did you see there was that really cringe ad that her campaign put out last week that was like white men for Kamala?
Oh my God.
That was horrible.
And they're all like liberal paid actors.
Yeah. So first of all, even if they weren't actors, what's crazy to me is if you're going to get actors, then get hot actors, then get men that are attractive and appealing and make you want to vote for Kamala and Tim Walz. But instead, I looked at them and I thought, these are low T soy betas. These are guys whose, like, I don't know, it's like, I was going to say they drive an electric car, but you drive an electric car, but you're a woman. So that's fair. But like these guys like have their chemical soy patties and they drive their electric cars and their jeans are tighter than their wives, you know, if they're with women. And
yeah, but they drive like a Prius or like a plug-in. I have like a nice Tesla at least.
Yeah, it's true. They drive a Prius and they listen and they think listening to NPR elevates them. And and the ad is so cringe. And there was that one guy who says, she has my full throated endorsement. It's like, I'm sure she does. I'm sure that's, interesting phrase. And then we find out that they're paid actors. Some of them are like Antifa. And it's like, it all fits together. It all fits together perfectly.
That was the fucking weirdest, gayest ad I've literally ever seen, to the point where I was like, and then you have Barack Obama, who's gay, coming out and shaming black men for not voting for Kamala. And I'm like, yeah.
But he can't. I feel like there's a chance that Barack Obama votes for Trump in the voting booth when he has the privacy to vote, because his endorsement is so weak. He goes to these guys and he's like, gotta do it. But we're talking about a man who is one of the most effective orators of our time. He is famous. He's known for being so convincing, so mesmerizing when he speaks. And yet somehow, when he's trying to convince you to vote for Kamala Harris, he just can't muster anything other than, she has the same experience as you. First of all, no, she doesn't. She was raised by PhD parents in a nice neighborhood in Canada. So there's that. That's not similar. It's interesting to me that no one actually ever talks about her time at Howard University, who she was friends with, what she was like, if she was liked, you know, like there's no information around that. And you'd think that for someone who's like trying to champion the black vote, that would be a focal point of her campaign. Yeah. And the fact that it's not tells me there's something really off there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know.
I'm so confused. Is she technically Canadian?
I think she's probably American, but she spent a lot of her formative years in Canada, in Montreal.
Can't trust
her mom had a job in Montreal and her dad had the job in California, I think. And so she was mostly with her mother.
I was confused. Yeah. Is this bitch even American? Can we even
Not that Barack Obama was.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. That's for a different time. But Obama just can't convince these guys. And if you remember when she was first appointed as the nominee, it took him and Michelle over a day to come out and speak in her favor. Do you remember that? And that was so telling. And then they had that fake phone call where Kamala never seems to know how to use the phone, because now we've seen her on the phone with the headphones, but holding the phone to her head to be like, oh, sorry, can't answer your press questions because I'm on the phone. And then we've seen her with the phone with headphones, but it's not plugged in. And with the Barack and Michelle call, she was on the phone with them holding the phone as Gen Z does, like this. She's holding the phone, but it's on speaker. So you could hear them giving their endorsement.
Obama likes her. I also don't think Biden likes her either. I thought Biden's comments about Ron DeSantis were super funny and like completely threw her under the bus. But then again, I'm like, is that even intentional? Because he literally is not alive. He has no fucking idea what's going on. So anything he does, I'm like, well, I can't assume that he was doing this on purpose. I don't think he knows where he is.
Yeah, I also wonder if he actually knows what he's doing. But I think he does. I think like all elderly people going into their sunset era and like entering dementia. I think he like sometimes is aware.
Yeah. I also want to point out, yesterday in a nice liberal neighborhood in Los Angeles, I saw 3 women wearing Waltz hats, and one bitch had the camo one. And I literally was about to be like, take that off your fucking head. That is so disrespectful. But I was just like, I just want to point out all 3 of them were very liberal, very chubby. They were white and they were unattractive. And I just was like, this is, and then there was one gay guy today at Air One. And I'm like, so this is the voter base. This is what it is. Oh, and of course, by the way, as there's a woman who drives by in a piece of shit car with a pro-Palestine flag, screaming "fuck you" at a bunch of children during a farmer's market. And then when I retaliated against her behavior, they all looked at me like I was a demon. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. This is what we're dealing with these people.
I saw a very unhappy, shriveled up woman in one of the camo, Harris Waltz hats.
Those made me so
really unpleasant. And Yeah, but she's the
They all just
feminazi
look
you
like the
expect to
worst
be wearing the
people.
hat. She was like power walking, like really like intensely, and she was like a tiny person. She was like 4.5 feet tall, super shriveled up.
You know what's really fun? That like video we made when people are talking about those girls getting sucker punched. There was like women that got mad. They were like, "Oh, you think people with different beliefs deserve to be punched in the face?" Actually, I do.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
do think
actually,
it's funny when they do get
that's
punched
what
in
you
the face.
voted for. If that's what you wanted, you know what I wish? I never wish ill on people. That's not what I wish.
I
I
do.
wish for
That's
what
okay.
they vote for them. You know? So when
Yeah.
people during BLM and everything were saying defund the police, I said, good, I hope you get that. I hope that's what you get.
Good. I hope you get what you want.
Yeah,
So bad.
I hope you
I
get
just
what you
don't think
want.
the good people have to suffer because you're selfish.
100%. 100%.
That's it.
We covered this on Dave Rubin's show on Friday on the Rubin Report, but we didn't get to talk. I don't think we spoke about this on our show last week because it happened after we recorded. But I was sitting the end of last week with a friend at a coffee shop in the West Village, which is a very liberal part of the city. Pride flags everywhere. Not a single American flag, of course, but why would there be? And we were sitting, and my friend was wearing a Boston Red Sox hat, and I was wearing my black MAGA hat. And he got all the hate comments, just a lot of like, fuck Boston, fuck you, whatever, like very New York. And my hat got all the love, and people were walking by saying, I love your hat. And even though Dave made fun of it, I'm not going to put it on right now, but like it is, because it's a MAGA hat. I'll put it on for a second so you can see, but it's like really big.
I like the contrast.
It's really big.
It looks like you put like a bunch of like cabbage in it overnight.
You know
like
what
it looks like one, like a boy, like someone if you were in a boiler room in the Titanic, what you would be wearing.
It looks like a Mario Kart hat, like Luigi.
Yes, yes, exactly.
It's like exactly. A Luigi.
I was trying to think of like cabbage hat.
Oh my God. For anybody who's just listening, for our 5 Spotify listeners, if you're just listening to this is worth the video content. I'm taking that off. It's super embarrassing, but I was wearing that and it looked really good in person. It is what it is. Listen, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm just a girl. Okay. But I got all the love, and I just want to say 2 of the women looked like lesbians to me, which would make sense in the West Village. But you know, I think I only got all positive comments. I didn't get a single negative comment. And then I also wore it to the gym, and I had 2 trainers come up to me and say to me that's awesome. Like, never thought I'd see it here. But you know who's really into it? It's people who are fucking based, who work hard. It was the trainers in the gym, not the fucking loser guys. Yeah. I saw a guy sitting today on a leg press machine with his legs crossed like a girl, texting for 20 minutes. And I was like, that's New York City. That's a Kamala Harris supporter right there. The guy sitting with his legs crossed.
It's the same people here. It's like ironically the entitled people who are like sitting there at the coffee shop. It's none of the people like driving the truck, working or anything. And they're the ones like, oh. And I'm just like, by the way, it's so funny. Even my girlfriends know this. People only talk shit after they've passed me. They will never fucking say something to my face. Mm-hmm. Ever. And then the girl yesterday, I turned around and I was like, what's up, bitch? You don't like free speech? You have something to say? I was like, go ahead. I'm standing right here. And she just was like, but she couldn't say anything. And I was like, yeah, I'm crazy. I don't know why you would have said anything in the fucking first place. I was like, God, shut the
Yeah, what's been interesting being here, though, is
that white ass.
It's interesting leaving Florida to be in New York for a little bit, where I'm reminded of people who aren't like super pro-Trump, but are traditional conservatives. And it is interesting because a lot of them are not necessarily voting for Trump, which I don't think is actually indicative of a lot of the country. I think a lot of people also are. I've heard a lot of stories of people talking about how much more popular it is to vote for Trump. And I don't think it's just that people are less afraid than they were 4 years ago and 8 years ago. I think the number has shifted. I think more people are going to be voting for Trump. But what I think is more interesting is that so many people at this point, their opinion's not going to change about Donald Trump. It's not like 4 years ago, 8 years ago, where they would go and vote against Trump. I don't think that momentum is there. I don't think Kamala has inspired that in people. And I'm very cautiously optimistic that a lot of people are going to be sitting at home this election season, because I think Trump has gotten a lot of new people, but the people that he didn't get, it's not like 2016 where they're voting you know, even 2016 he won, but like 2020, I think he won too. So that's different, but not by enough for them to, you know, he didn't win by enough for them to not be able to steal it.
No, the thing is, I think things are different. And I agree. I think last time people voted against him because they hated him so much, because one side of the media was just and all, you know, everything was completely suppressed. And I think since so much has came out, and by the way, this has to do with huge people giving him platforms. Every time he does a podcast, he's more likable after, and he does them with more people with bigger audiences. He just did one with Andrew Schultz, and I thought it was like actually the best side of him he's ever shown. I thought it was the most likable, the most sincere, not political. He really wasn't all about himself. Like even when he talks about his children, they're like, dude, we keep asking you about you, and you just keep saying how much you love your family and like kids, and it's amazing. And every time, and now people's lives are so fucked from the past 4 years, and there's so much shit they disagree with because we didn't have the wars back then. There are a lot of pro-Palestine people who are not fucking voting for either one, which is great. Don't vote. You shouldn't vote. And it's one of those things where I'm like, things have changed. People, their lives suck. They can't afford anything. We're in wars. The borders are open. They're starting to see other sides of the media. They're like, well, this guy's going on all these podcasts I like. These aren't even political podcasts. Most of them are comedians. And then I think people are just like, I don't hate him to vote against him, and I really don't like her. And let's not forget, voting is also supposed to be kind of a private thing. I'm sure people privately are voting for Trump this time, and they're just not outwardly saying it. But there's not that hate against him like there was before. The left will always hate him. I think all independents will be voting for him.
Wow. I think independents will be voting for him or staying at home. I think a lot of people are going to be writing in also. A lot of people are annoyed.
Yeah.
A lot of people like they're not inspired by Kamala, and they don't hate Trump the way they used to. So like why would they even get up? I'm curious to see, not that I really believe the numbers, but I feel like there's a good chance we see a big dip in participation this year from 4 years ago.
Well, did you see what I posted? Now the left-wing media is starting to say like, who cares about the polls? And I was like, oh, so as soon as the polls aren't in your favor, all of a sudden polls don't matter. Are you like fucking serious? Can people not see this insane bias that's happening right now? Like every time they lose and the things start to shift, somehow it's automatically a good thing. But when it's the other way, well, then it's a bad thing. And I'm like, how do you guys not see what's going on? You have to be like really fucked up and brainwashed on another level.
No, but also think about how fucking dumb Kamala is, that everything is rigged in her favor, that the media is just in her pocket, and she still has the cringiest moments that a candidate could have. And this is when everything is rigged in her favor. It's so bad. Like, how bad of a candidate do you have to be? We talk about this a lot.
I also want to say, what is the reflection of the Democrat? The reflection of the Democrat Party is that how many people in this country are Democrats? You had to put a mixed race, whatever the fuck she is, woman who is mentally retarded, who's so far fucked her way to the top, who has literally her entire career been extremely unpopular, got no votes. That is your candidate? I'm sorry, I hate to say it. Republicans have tons of great candidates. There are so many other people. If they were president, I would be just as excited. Like, we have a great side and multiple options. I'm like, if this is your party and that is the best you have, your party is fucked. Your party's done. If that's the best you have. Why would you just elect someone likable?
Did you see the article that was saying that that Trump in private called Kamala a retard? Or it was retarded or retard.
Yeah, and I posted it and I was like, he already has my vote.
Yeah, I know. I could only vote for the man so hard. I could only vote for him once. Like, what? But
that was literally my caption. I was like, Trump calls Kamala retarded. I'm like, I already love him. I don't know what you guys want from me.
You don't have to convince me any further. I'm already voting for him. But my favorite thing is that I didn't see the left really going after this comment and getting offended by it, because it would just highlight what they know is true, which is that she is retarded. And so they just didn't want to highlight it. It just kind of blew over. No one cares. You know what's also happening? Actually, it's funny talking about blowing over things. We're not going to talk about how Kamala got to her current position. No pun intended. But actually this Thursday, she's skipping the Al Smith dinner, which is what all presidential candidates have attended historically for decades. The last time a presidential candidate missed it was in 1984. This is one of those roast dinners. So if you might be familiar with clips that have happened through the years. I remember Donald Trump doing it a lot, very viral clips from I think his first run. And it's, of course, she's not going because she knows and her team knows that she is both unpopular and unfunny. So Donald Trump is going. She won't even be there. And her campaign is claiming she's not there because she needs to be in key swing states, as if she couldn't do a night in New York City to do this on Thursday. So I cannot wait to see what Trump says. They're going to have to thread the needle very carefully on this one, though, because she won't be there. That they're going to have to decide what their approach will be in terms of like how much to rag on her and how much not to. Because also it'll look like, I'm sure they discussed this for the debate too, that you don't want it to look like bullying, especially with a man on a woman. It's just a dynamic they have to deal with, and she won't be there. Yeah. So, we'll see. But I think it should be nothing short of hilarious and epic with Trump there.
And they already did the roast of like Donald Trump, and it was hilarious. And he's like so good at taking jokes, and he like throws it right back at him. With her, it's like, of course she's not going to be there. Like, she is the joke. Like, when you're confident, you know you're successful and intelligent and all these things, you're fine with people making fun of you. But they're not fine with people making fun of her because she isn't any of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Her whole family's fucked. Like, what's going on with like the fucking husband and the little like weird trans like stepchild or whatever? Like, even this, her whole family's like fucking weird.
They're all weird. They're all bizarre. Yeah, the Doug Emhoff stuff. I am curious. I don't know why more details haven't come out, because clearly there's a way to identify the woman that alleged that he smacked her really hard, that she spun around when they were in France. I don't know. Like, it's pretty easy to pinpoint who that is. Has she not come out because maybe the Democratic Party has threatened her? Like, has she not come out because, like, also, sure if it weren't true, here's the thing. If it were not true, would that ex-girlfriend not come out to say, this never happened to me?
Yeah, it would be something you could easily shut down. I just assume she has crazy threats from the left and isn't coming out about it. And Megyn Kelly had some comment about it, about talking to someone who's like, is a specialist in like the way people respond during interrogations. And they were like, the way he responded to it was really weird. If you just respond a certain way, it means you're not guilty. You know what I mean? And the way he responded really was more of like, you just seem more guilty inherently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, but I've heard, when you actually track the timeline, it seems like Kamala maybe also was cheating with Doug when he was still married, or I don't know, but like, it seems like that timeline's very iffy. None of that would be surprising. We know her general stance on these things. I mean, she just has absolutely no integrity. There was a bunch of stuff on X today about how Kamala apparently plagiarized a book that she wrote. I use the term wrote very loosely. She wrote a book apparently on crime, which I didn't know about. And apparently she lifted a lot of it straight from Wikipedia, not even, like, just from Wikipedia. So it's been all over X. It's the people who, like, use those softwares to compare, compare papers and books and things like that. I think it's probably the same people who uncovered like the different university professors and deans and everything. So apparently she plagiarized her book, which is unsurprising because I didn't even know she wrote a book. And like, did you know that Kamala Harris was capable of writing a book? What it would be about. What's crazy to me also is like, you could get a ghostwriter.
Can't formulate a sentence, but somehow wrote a book.
But also people get ghostwriters. Like, she just cuts so many corners and she just has absolutely no moral spine. She just has no integrity, that she was fine with just lifting from Wikipedia of all places. I'm so embarrassed for her. But not as embarrassed as I am. It's kind of
funny because it sounds like she did write it herself.
Yeah, if it's just like the Wikipedia, like grade 5 reading level, and that's why it makes sense. But I'm super embarrassed more for Tim Walz, this poor cuck man who is trying to load a Beretta shotgun. Did you see this over the weekend? Over the weekend, they thought it would be a good idea to record him attempting to load a shotgun. He's unsuccessful because I'm sure also no one on the team knew how to load this gun. I don't know how this footage got out there, that they were recording it and didn't even clip it to something better. I'm curious if it was like because it was live or whatever, but it's a video of Tim Walz failing to load a Beretta. What did he say? Like A400. And he just can't deal with the gun. And this is a guy who says, I'm a gun owner. I'm one of the guys. He's all dressed up in his Beretta gear. It was all over the internet over the weekend. It's so fake. Everything about this campaign is completely manufactured. Dude, you couldn't even practice with the gun before. These people want you to be president and VP, and people are acting as if Tim Walz is just running for VP for this nothing position. I don't know what people need to get through their minds to realize, like, Biden showed you how much we need to focus on who the vice president is. That at any moment you could have a president who might be stepping down, who might be too mentally deteriorated, who might be too old, who might die. And so you need someone who's capable of taking over. And how, like, just the little prep that they do for everything, that it seems like, you know, Megyn Kelly also mentions this a lot on her show. She talks about how it seems like Kamala Harris seems almost too arrogant to do the prep that her team definitely does for her, where she goes on these interviews and they know what the questions will be in advance, and she can't even memorize her answers for those 20-minute, 45-minute interviews. And same thing with Tim Walz. The guy is about to have a photo op that's supposed to make him appealing to the average man, and he can't even practice loading the shotgun before they take the video.
He looks like such a doofus. It's also funny too, because I'm like, Kamala Harris is supposed to be the woman that's for the party of the working class, and she's talking about hurricane relief, giving people $750, and then she's wearing an Hermes belt that's like $800. And then, like, one of the things she was doing, she had Tiffany earrings on. The other one, she had a necklace that was a $65,000 necklace. I'm like, yeah, she's really like for the people. But it's good because I have seen things change, at least on TikTok. Like, usually she does very well on TikTok, obviously, because it's like a left-leaning app. And I don't mean her, I mean her, whoever runs her account. And the last couple videos she's posted, every single comment is $750. So people are, so even leftists on TikTok are turning on her, which gives me hope.
Wow.
So
that's actually crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think, like, you know, like I said, like, well, I was gonna say, like, people are upset about the wars, and that's why they don't like her. They think that she's, you know, helping with funding Israel and all these things and not trying to get a ceasefire. So she lost so many votes because of the crazy pro-Palestine people, but now she's losing votes because of the way she's handled the hurricane. And the thing is, they can't even, like, hide the way they've handled that. And obviously they already hated her because of all the inflation and everything and lying about that. So she continues to lose people for really big issues. So that's actually really good.
Yeah. I mean, well, the Call Her Daddy podcast tanked, and we see that Trump tends to beat Kamala.
Probably the worst decision.
Yeah. And Trump is totally beating Kamala on TikTok even. Like, his videos are getting more views, more likes. She's getting ratioed. She just is, she's kind of losing on both sides, right? Like you said, like, the true leftists are going after her, but also people on more center, more moderate are just totally fed up with her. I do deeply worry, though, about the hurricane consequences for a number. They're obviously, like, let's take aside people's, I hate to say, let's take aside people's well-being. That sounds horrible, but that's obviously just like a top priority. Ugh, my camera keeps moving. Look at it follow me. Look at it do.
I didn't do that.
And I don't want it doing that. It's like a funny thing that it does. But aside from the fact that I worry about how people are doing, them being able to rebuild their homes, that's an obvious concern. But when it comes to the election specifically, where are people going to vote? These towns have been completely devastated. Has anybody put out any information around what people are going to be able to do? I don't know.
I mean, I would imagine voting is probably like the last thing on these people's minds, who they even said like less than 1% of people had like insurance on their homes to rebuild. Yeah. So I'm like, so these people don't know if they're going to be able to have a home. They have no money. They're not getting help from the US and all these things. So it's like, yeah, I don't blame them for being like, oh shit, probably won't be able to vote either. Obviously,
no, I don't blame them, but voting.
Like, we need them. Know where they are got destroyed.
But especially, we're talking about the Carolinas. These are states that Trump needs, that should be getting. So we need people voting. And I just want to take a moment for anyone who's listening to this to tell you, to beg you to please make sure you are registered to vote at your current address, to please have your plan. If you're voting by mail, if you're voting in person, I will be going in person because it's really easy where I am in Miami. I'm in New York right now. My flight is already booked to be back a week before the election, where I will be voting. And just make sure you're registered. If you're not, deadlines are approaching, and they are approaching very fast. Get yourself registered. I'm helping with a voter registration event in Pennsylvania next weekend. You know, there's a lot for us to be doing. If you're registered, make sure your friends are registered. Make sure your family's registered, unless they're voting for Kamala, in which case, don't talk to them. Don't help them. We don't need that.
In which case, don't bother. How soon can you vote? Like if you go in person.
But people are voting already. I did see something interesting. I think it was Peachy on X, and she, maybe it was her, maybe it might have been someone else, but someone posted their mail-in ballot. She's in LA, the account I'm referring to, and her ballot, I'm pretty sure it was hers, the folding line goes directly through Donald Trump's circle that's bubbled in. It's like, huh, I wonder if they're doing that. I wonder if the machine will have a harder time reading it. That's a little concerning.
Oh my! And
so that's why I say, like, have a plan.
I'm just trying to get my ballot.
Have a plan. Don't wait for the last minute. This is so important. We cannot afford another 4 years of this. I'm going to say this. Don't be lazy. And you know what? I know people work hard. I know that we could sit here and people will say, oh, you're so privileged. You guys like are full-time influencers. It's easy for you to say that. We both took risks. We both support ourselves, and we do have flexible schedules though. We understand the blessing of what that is. Get a plan. We have early voting. We're not a country where it's just one day. You actually have almost no excuse not to vote.
Yeah.
If you're working hard for your kids, voting, I really believe, is the same as going to work for your children, because you need to make sure that we are leaving the country better off and we are getting the right people in office who will make sure that we have a good future. And that is not with Kamala Harris. So please go vote, and please make sure you have your plan.
And especially if you're in somewhere like California where it matters so much, where it's like, okay, president, obviously that's going to be the easy choice. But then the most important thing, district attorney, that is literally for us in LA, that is just as important as the president, because that's the person who's literally determining our safety. And we have a district attorney who's never prosecuted a criminal before. So we need to win, because we can win this one. Yeah, think about how corrupt that is. Your entire job, you've never done once.
Well, you know, it's amazing because here in New York, they've only ever prosecuted one person, and that's Donald Trump.
Yeah, interesting, right? I know.
Donald Trump is the only person. He's the only person to ever be indicted in New York City. Everyone else, free. Everyone's free. Don't worry about it. By the way,
I'm pretty sure, what is it? One of those court cases I was listening to is now being dismissed, because the one involving his real estate, which was the huge one, which is so funny because that's what every real estate agent, broker, whatever, that's what they all do. We all like inflate the fucking prices. You purposely put above, listing price, whatever. And so it's so funny because they basically said, we did business in the state of New York with him. He did business with us. He paid his taxes. We're all good. So everyone across the board was like, legally, we're all good. So I was like, these things are going to start being like thrown away.
Yeah.
But I think they want him in jail while he's like president. That's their goal.
I think they've just tried. They literally tried to kill him and they couldn't kill him. Like the man is so unstoppable. And that is, I will say, that's the disappointing thing about being in New York and going to these like more intellectual events where I get invited to be with people who are doing like debates about things. And I'm not going to say what organizations they are. They were very nice to host me. I appreciated that I was invited, but I'm in these, cocktail hours with people, and they're all like, oh, I really prefer Nikki Haley. Like, I'd love, if anyone's listening to us, I doubt we have anyone who listens to us who's like, oh, I'm like a Nikki Haley person. But when someone says that, I'm like, how do you live through everything? Listen, Trump has his flaws. We are not a podcast that thinks that Trump is a perfect man. We will call it as we see it, but we are so excited. I've never been so excited about a guy. He's so fucking iconic. Just when you think you've seen Trump at his peak, at his best, he comes up with something even better. And this has been true for decades. And then even more so just in the last year. He's bulletproof. God willing, and hopefully continues to be. But like truly, reputationally, financially, politically, like everything, bulletproof. And I can't imagine living through this time where we get to witness not just that, but also Elon Musk. And I want to talk about him for a second. But we are living, this is an absolutely wild time. And I can't imagine being a conservative, but also a lot of these people are like libertarians. But I can't imagine being a libertarian conservative in New York City who doesn't like Kamala and is seriously standing around saying, I just can't bring myself to vote for Trump. I'm going to write in Nikki Haley. Are you kidding me? Like, how dumb do you have to be to think that that's the answer? That's crazy. Like Trump is obviously better for the economy.
I feel like
you're not choosing a bachelor. You're not choosing someone to be in your a fucking groomsman in your wedding. You're choosing someone to enact policy that you know is going to be good for this country. I saw one of the women at one of these panels when they asked her about Kamala Harris. She said, "I'm not choosing a bridesmaid. I'm choosing a president." And that's how you should be looking at this. So it's also all these libertarians. They're always so fucking weird. If you're a libertarian, write in the comments because you're a fucking weirdo. And I just want to say that either you think that like, you know, we shouldn't have taxes for roads and it should be like privately funded, which is psychotic. Or if you're libertarian, you're really conservative on a lot of things, but you disagree with some social issues. Or I always say this, if you're a guy and you say that you're libertarian, you're really conservative, but you want to be able to still sleep with liberal women. And that's why you say it. But if you're a true libertarian, like, I don't know, I would consider Javier Milei, I guess, libertarian, but like he's also just conservative because he's not fucking weird and all over the place in his ideas. So I don't buy it. I'm starting to lose all respect for libertarian. What's that?
Just pick a side. Just pick a side. I think now maybe things are a bit more crucial. It's one of those things where like I was talking about it with these like this guy's like UFC guy. But it's like, stop being a pussy and pick a fucking side. There's no like there's you have to be on a team to win. So which side are you on? This whole like, oh, I'm going to go against the grain. And here's the thing. Your vote doesn't matter. You don't matter. And nothing you really believe in is going to work out and matter either. You have to pick a team. That's how this works. And I hate that it's like, well, that's why we're in this mess. That's why we're divided. Okay, well, that's how the system fucking works. So you trying to be cute and be like outside the system is actually dumb and it doesn't work anymore. So I just feel like also libertarian now is like just kind of like, I don't have a fucking backbone enough to like pick a fucking side and then like, you know, go forth on that side. It's just kind of like a cowardly kind of just like emo way to be now at this point.
I totally agree. No, being libertarian, it might be nice in theory in some college classroom where you're talking about different political ideologies. It is not for wartime. And this is wartime. This is actually time to go out and be fighting for something. And like, oh, you're going to tell me that you're going to write somebody in? You're going to write in Nikki Haley instead of voting for Trump? You're a fucking pussy.
And if you're going to do that, then don't fucking complain for the next 4 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you don't get to be like, oh my God. Like, no, it's just dumb. There's so many people on our side right now that are going like the middle on everything. And I'm like, okay, so then you would rather, instead of just going middle or slightly right, you would rather go as extremely far left as possible. Like, I hate to say it. You're not going to win unless you pick a fucking side. You have to be on a fucking team. That's how this works. It's a fucking game. Whether you like it or not, your middle party is never going to exist and it's never going to fucking win. So it's time to like have some fucking balls. And like, even if you don't like it, at least try to be a part of a fucking team, because writing someone in is a useless vote. Don't even vote then. And then when shit hits the fan for the next 4 years, which I'm sure they'll be happy because they'll have lots of content to talk about, you don't get to fucking complain because you contributed to the fucking problem.
Yeah, no. Pick a side. This is the time to pick a side. This isn't about staying above the fray of some PTA drama that you don't want to deal with. This is actually the future of the country. And I want to say that if you're calling yourself a libertarian and you're not voting for Trump with all the information that you have, and you're not as intellectual as you think, because you're actually an emotional voter, you're thinking about Trump as someone you don't like. He's not your fucking groomsman. It's someone whose policies you're looking at. Forget the character. Also, as if Kamala's better. She's a lush who doesn't know anything. She's so incompetent that even with rigged questions by the media, she can't even look good. And you're telling me that between those two flawed characters, you can call them flawed characters, right? And like, let's just say you're unenthused by Trump, fine. But you're telling me you're not enthused by Kamala. So vote off the policy. It's obviously Trump. Pick a side. It's not the time to stay out of it. And if you are a libertarian not casting your vote for Trump, then you're more of a fucking loser than someone voting for Kamala Harris. You're worse than men.
Yeah, and if you're and if you're a libertarian, then Trump would be your vote because you have a Republican who's backed by is backed by a bunch of Democrats. So once again, those would be the two parties uniting on one side, where one side is just purely one extreme side. So I'm like, yeah, once again, if you're libertarian, Trump would be the candidate.
Yes.
He's backed by both teams.
But where is the logic? Where is the, like, libertarians love to be the unemotional, just like they're because conservative and liberal, what they really mean is that like you actually have conservative values. So like it actually plays into your life. And libertarian is meant to be more like, okay, we're taking this away from people's lives, like even less government intervention, like to the extreme, right? Like that's really what libertarian is, that you take a value system away from people, and it's about as little government intervention as possible. I'm sure this is going to get comments of people correcting that. Good, bring it. Comments are good for us. It's how the pod grows. I hope you comment. Just don't rate us a 4-star, rate us a 5-star on Spotify, because that one person who gave us a 4-star, we're still climbing back from it. But thank you to everyone else for the 5 stars. For the one who did the 4-star, we will figure out who you are. We will find you.
We will fucking find you.
We'll fucking find you. But I don't even know where I was saying, because I started to threaten the 4-star giver. But yeah, with libertarians, they take the values out of it, but then Trump's obviously still the better candidate. And yes, Trump didn't do the best job at reducing government spending. We know there are things to be fixed. You're telling me that he's not going to come back just ready to tear all that apart, to get rid of, to disband, reduce all of these terrible government agencies? That is what a second Trump presidency will mean. Also, he only has one more term. He only gets one more term. With Kamala Harris, she could be in for 8 years. 8 years.
Nope.
I can't handle that.
No, we wouldn't even make it another 4 years.
No. So
I can't fucking imagine.
I want all the libertarians to come out.
No, I don't know. I even like have called myself that for so long. And at this point, I just think it's like, it's funny. They think they're like the more intellectual group of people, when really the way they even vote is like actually pointless. And it's like, there's not going to be this huge like third party. It just doesn't work that way. Sorry. I wish like I could be more positive about it, but I'm just being realistic.
Yeah, exactly. So libertarians are cucks, and we're calling you out, and you better fucking vote, and you better vote for Trump, and that's it. And otherwise, please defend yourself. Feel free. Defend yourselves in the comments.
Yeah. So. Yeah, feel free. Also, I was like, so you guys can, there was like all these comments. I was like, I'm not Jewish. Why does that? They kept calling me a Jewish bitch. I was like, just call me a bitch.
Guys, Emily's not Jewish. She's just a bitch. That's it.
Yes.
That's so funny. I was
like, let me defend myself at least.
I am actually both.
I was like, yeah, and then, and if you're in LA, district attorney, we only have one chance. Nathan Hochman, you have one chance to elect one person to prosecute crime. Also, if you've ever listened to George Gascon talk, he sounds like Kermit the Frog, and it is the creepiest thing I've ever heard in my life. You can look up just anything, even on Instagram. He's a weird, very evil dude.
Sounds like a villain name from a Disney movie. Does it not?
I know. No, literally, he is a villain. I mean, he literally all the blood in LA is like
villain name.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. And he's been running this for a very long time. Of course, they all the Kamala, they all like endorse him. He's the root of all evil here. So at least we have one chance, and hopefully people don't fuck it up.
Of course he is. Yeah, I'm in Florida. The two biggest ones are Amendment 3 and Amendment 4 that have just been getting a lot of attention and a lot of money. Amendment 3 is the legalization of weed, except it's not actually the legalization of weed. It's basically giving it all to this one company. It would create a monopoly. So there are people who feel different ways about it. I personally listen, people will disagree with this. That's fine. I just think stoner societies are loser societies. I just think that there's an argument to be made about it being legal. No, I don't think anyone should be going to jail for weed. That's obviously dumb at this point. But I think that the way they're trying to do it, do you really think companies that are spending tens of millions of dollars, close to hundreds of millions of dollars pushing this, do you think they're doing this to help you? Do you think they're doing it because they want it to be legal so people don't go to jail? No, they're doing it because they want to control the market. And with these laws specifically, they're getting passed, and they will heavily favor one company. It would be a monopoly. And in Florida, the state of Florida would not be able to control that. They won't have any say over where they put their stores, they won't have any control over it.
Yeah.
I personally, I've seen what it does to a place like New York City. And I know the argument that people are making as well, it's actually better in a place like Florida because Florida is obviously a better run state. That's not going to be true with this amendment because the government won't actually have a say over things. So this is not the way to do it. Mm-hmm. If you believe in legalizing weed, this isn't the way. There will be a better way to do this. DeSantis, I'm pretty sure, has come out and said he's going to try to introduce something that decriminalizes it for people, which is different than what this amendment would do. And they're very sneaky in the way they label it. So they make it seem like, it's just meant to, stop people from going to jail, but it actually just really hands power over to a monopoly. So that's not good. And then Amendment 4, we've talked about it on this pod, but it essentially extends abortion up until birth. And it allows minors to get abortions without parental consent. So you look at the language and it sounds like, it's like reducing government interference in abortion. And they phrase it that way because as conservatives, yes, we want less government interference in our lives. So that sounds like language meant to seduce a conservative who doesn't believe in government interference. But it's really so much more than that. So I'm not here to tell you how to vote on these things, but at least just understand what you're voting for when you vote for those amendments. I have no idea what amendments 1 or 2 are. I need to learn. But those are 3
that's the thing in California too. I tell people, I'm like, you don't know what you're voting for. You have to read it very carefully. And I swear at some point we're going to need lawyers to read these things because the way they manipulate the language is crazy. You think you're voting for abortion to be illegal here, but you're actually voting for 8-9 month abortions and for them to save the baby and then immediately deny healthcare after and like literally killing it. So yeah, it's the language they use to purposely confuse people. So it's hard to tell. Some of them are very short. They're black and white. Like we have one for gay marriage, which I guess we vote on every year here. And it's like allow gay marriage or not. Usually ones like that are pretty black and white.
Oh, I didn't realize
which is like
that comes
still
back.
funny. We're still funny.
That's interesting.
I didn't know either until I read my ballot or I read the props a couple days ago.
Right.
And it was like gay marriage. And it was funny because the person who posted it was like, vote however you want. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
Wow, that is interesting. And I will say, if anybody here...
So, the news is, guys, if they start getting a little fucking spicy, we can start reeling back those rights that they claim they never have.
Yeah. And then for anybody who's listening, we obviously are talking about Florida and California because that's where we are. But if there is a very important amendment or prop or whatever in your state, put it in the comments. We'll mention it next week so people can be aware. And Emily, any parting words before we say goodbye?
Yeah, it was funny. I went to go get a smoothie this morning and it was like literally the shit's $23. And I looked and I'm like, because they always do a collaboration. And I was like, the collaboration is like to donate to like some black girl charity or something. And I thought of like, imagine going to order the smoothie. And I was like, can I get the smoothie? But is there any way I can personally skip the donation for the black women? I wanted to just to see his face. I go there all the time. So to that location. So I didn't want to deal with it, but I just thought how funny that would be. Sir, this doesn't politically align with my beliefs. Is there a way that I could get the $23 smoothie? I just don't want to donate the 5% to the black girls.
Oh my God, Emily.
We'll see.
They would never have a conservative. They would never have a conservative. I mean, I don't know that donating.
They would never donate to me. They would never support my.
They would never support poor white girls. That's for sure. That's the problem. The problem.
No, by the way, the
problem is making it about skin color, and that's why you're helping someone. So we just help poor girls.
Anyways, that's what I was leaving off on.
Well, I just thought you decided to give the cancelable moment to the last minute. And thank you everyone for listening. We'll catch you next week. Make sure you're following us at Officially Unfollowed on Instagram. Follow Emily at Emily Saves America. Follow me at NonLibTake, and we will see you next week. Bye.